What if I told you the secret to a garden completely overflowing with stunning peonies isn't pulling out your wallet to buy more, but actually mastering the art of dividing the ones you already have? Peonies are basically the ultimate classic garden flower, right? Universally recognized for their elegance. But there's this massive myth out there that these majestic plants absolutely hate being moved. Well, today, we are going to completely bust that myth wide open. Mastering the division of these plants is literally a superpower for cultivating a lush garden. And by the end of this explainer, you'll have the exact blueprint to do it with total confidence.
So welcome to the Peony Masterclass on dividing and transplanting. Whether you're a total beginner who's just eager to level up your garden, or a seasoned green thumb looking to perfectly dial in your technique, this explainer is built to guide you step by step through multiplying these historic beauties. All right, here's how we're breaking things down today. We'll quickly cover peony types and timing, move into prep and digging, delve into the actual art of dividing, set you up for transplanting success, navigate around some really common mistakes, and wrap up with long-term care. Okay, part 1. Peony types and timing. Getting to know who we're working with.
So there are basically 3 main types of peonies you might be growing. First up, the herbaceous peony. This is your classic, incredibly fragrant favorite that completely dies back to the ground every single winter. Next is the tree peony. Now this one is actually a woody shrub. It keeps its stems year-round and pushes out these absolutely enormous, dinner plate-sized blooms. And finally, we have the Ito, or intersectional peony. It's this fascinating hybrid that dies back in winter like the herbaceous, but gives you those massive tree-like flowers on really strong stems. Knowing which one you have is absolutely crucial because, as we'll see in a bit, their transplanting rules are completely different.
Now, understanding dormancy is everything. This is the plant's natural resting phase, which makes it the single safest, most optimal window for moving them. We're talking mid-August to mid-October for most regions, right around the time the foliage starts turning yellow. Basically, the plant is naturally shifting its energy away from making leaves and flowers and focusing entirely on its roots. Moving them now lets them safely regenerate those roots without accidentally triggering new top growth that winter would just come along and kill off anyway.
To get super precise, 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit is your target soil temperature. Peak transplanting success happens when your nighttime lows dip below 60 degrees, but your daytime highs are still hanging above 50. That specific temperature sweet spot is exactly what the plant needs to kickstart healthy cell division in the roots before the ground freezes solid.
Moving on to part 2, prep and digging. Let's get our hands dirty.
First, you need the right tools. Grab a solid spade and a heavy-duty garden fork for the actual digging. You'll also want your garden clippers, a couple of sharp knives, a paring or linoleum knife works great, and a rubber mallet to help drive the knife through those older, tougher root crowns. But listen, the absolute most vital item on this list is 70% isopropyl alcohol. You have to sterilize all your cutting tools before you make a single slice. Peony roots are packed with starches, which makes them essentially a buffet for harmful bacteria and fungi if you cut them with dirty blades. All right, time to extract the plant. Start by cutting back the foliage to just a few inches above the ground. This reduces stress on the plant and, honestly, just helps you see what you're doing. Next, dig a circular trench about 6 to 12 inches away from the stems. Remember, the roots grow out just as much as they grow down. Then, angle your spade at about 45 degrees to gently pry underneath the root mass. Take your time here. Finally, gently lift the root ball out. Whatever you do, do not pull the plant up by the stems. Freshly dug roots are incredibly brittle and they will snap right off.
Once you have it out of the ground, I have an insider pro tip for you from expert horticulturists that is going to save you so much frustration. Wash all the soil off the root system so you can actually see the structure you're working with. Then, cover those roots with a damp towel or some damp burlap and just let the whole thing rest in a shady spot overnight. Why? Because this brief resting period lets the roots dry just a tiny bit, changing them from stiff and brittle to slightly pliable. They'll be way less prone to snapping when you start making your cuts the next day.
Section 3. The art of dividing. This is where the magic happens.
We are anchoring our entire strategy on this golden rule from the American Pony Society. They state it is best to divide a large root into 3 to 5 eye sections with the roots trimmed back to 6 to 8 inches in length. Guys, this isn't just a suggestion, it's a proven biological formula for robust future blooms. It's all about balance. If you have too many eyes with too little root mass, the plant will totally struggle to feed itself.
Okay, let's make those cuts. Look closely at the clean crown and find the eyes. They look like little bullet-shaped pink or white buds. Those are next year's stems.
Take your sterilized large knife, tap it gently with the mallet if you need to, and make your first big structural cuts to separate the crown. Then, carefully untangle the interlocking roots by hand. Use your smaller paring knife to slice away any black spots, rotting bits, or severely damaged roots. Ultimately, just double-check that every single piece you're about to plant has that magic ratio, 3 to 5 eyes connected to a healthy 6 to 8 inch fleshy root.
Section 4. Transplanting for success. Giving them their perfect forever home.
The environment you choose for them is absolutely critical. Peonies demand full sun, meaning a solid 6 to 8 hours of direct light every day if you want those massive blooms. The soil has to be well-draining because they despise wet feet and will quickly rot. Also, pay close attention to spacing. Planting them 3 to 4 feet apart isn't just about giving them room to stretch, it's absolutely essential for air circulation. Good airflow naturally stops fungal diseases like powdery mildew from creeping in later. When digging the hole, go just a bit wider and deeper than the root ball and backfill it using a 50-50 mix of your native soil and some standard compost.
Now, if you take nothing else away from this explainer, remember this number, 1 to 2. Herbaceous and Ito peonies must be planted with their eyes exactly 1 to 2 inches below the soil surface. In warmer zones, you want them just 1 inch deep. In colder zones, 2 inches. If you bury them any deeper than this, the plant will spend all its energy trying to grow stems just to reach the surface, and it will completely fail to produce flowers. Literally, no blooms. Now let's look at this number, 4 to 6. This is the required depth in inches for tree peonies. So we're flipping the logic here. Tree peonies are usually grafted onto herbaceous rootstock to force that woody tree portion to establish its own independent root system over time. You actually have to bury the swollen graft union 4 to 6 inches deep, completely under the soil line. See what I mean? Knowing your peony type directly dictates how you plant it.
Section 5. Avoiding common mistakes. Let's steer clear of the biggest pitfalls.
Perhaps the biggest myth we need to bust is the urge to move peonies in the spring just to check it off your chore list. Spring transplanting forces the plant into a terrible choice: desperately regrow roots or push out spring flowers. It completely depletes their energy. In fact, data from the Chicago Botanic Garden reveals a staggering 92% of spring transplants either completely fail or end up severely stunted. Fall transplanting is the biological imperative. It perfectly syncs up with their natural dormancy and allows for entirely safe, focused root growth. Let's rapidly hit a few more transplanting sins. Like we talked about, planting too deep is the culprit in 73% of non-blooming cases. Second, using dull tools. Dull blades crush those starchy roots instead of slicing them clean, which just invites rot. Third, do not pack the planting hole with tons of rich manure. That creates what's called a pot effect. The roots just circle around in that rich pocket instead of pushing out into the native dirt, and it can even burn the roots. Fourth, keep heavy mulch away from the immediate crown so you don't suffocate it. And finally, if you don't see massive blooms in year 1, do not panic. Patience is just a biological reality for peonies, for sure.
Section 6. Long-term care. How to make them thrive for decades.
Right after planting, water your new divisions deeply once or twice a week, about a gallon per plant, until the ground freezes solid about 2 inches down. Now here is a massive tip. Do absolutely nothing with fertilizer this first fall. Seriously. You want the roots to settle naturally without the shock of forced nutrient uptake. Wait until their second spring to sprinkle a light, balanced 10-10-10 fertilizer, and just manage your own expectations here. Expect the full, magnificent, show-stopping display of blooms to truly return in about 2 to 3 years, once that root system hits mature mass.
Just a really quick heads up before we wrap things up. The guidance we've covered in this explainer is based on highly verified general best practices. But, of course, outcomes can naturally vary based on your specific environmental factors, your local soil composition, and your climate zone. So always feel free to consult your local horticulturist or extension office to get that highly zone-specific advice.
You know, peonies are one of those rare plants that can quite literally outlive us. They act as a living floral legacy that gets passed down through generations. By understanding how their dormancy works, respecting the precision of those cuts, and getting the planting depth exactly right, you have successfully unlocked the master key to infinitely multiplying these incredible flowers. So I'll leave you with this thought. Knowing you now have the power to multiply your garden's beauty basically for free, who are you going to gift your very first divided peony to? Get out into the dirt, try it for yourself, and watch your garden legacy grow.